Welcome. In this video, we're going to be reviewing how to add an expense against a job in Function Point. There are two methods of adding an expense, and we'll be reviewing both in this video. We'll start with a method that's a bit more manual. You'll want to start by hovering your cursor over the Expenses module. You'll notice that Expenses works a little bit differently than the other modules, and that it's broken down between external and internal, and each has the find and the add. Hovering over external will allow us to add an expense. This brings us to our multi-line expense entry system. It is a multi-line system. You can enter multiple line items on your expense if you need to do so. We'll start by selecting our supplier. Notice the magnifying glass lets us know it's an intelligent field. We can enter a short form to narrow down our search. We'll select our job, select our phase, select our expense type. Keep in mind this drop-down may be different in your system, depending on your company's terminology. Enter our quantity and rate. Enter any discounts we may be receiving from our vendor, any tax groups that are applicable for the purchase. Quoted for PO. This field controls the dollar value that will show up on your vendor-facing purchase order should you choose to produce one. We'll enter the description of the item being purchased. And then we have our markup percentage. The markup percentage is filled in based on the client and the expense type. However, we can override it if we wish. We can also enter a dollar value override if we prefer. If you're syncing this expense with an accounting system, such as QuickBooks or Simply Accounting, you'll want to choose the appropriate cost of goods sold account that this will relate to in your accounting system. Click Submit, and that is our expense created. From here we could choose to produce a vendor-facing purchase order, copy the expense, or edit the item as well. Now there is another method of entering an expense that is a bit more automated, and it really depends on whether or not your expense was predetermined. In other words, was your expense included as a line item on the estimate or scope of work related to the job for which you're wanting to add an expense. The best way to determine this is to navigate to that job's details page. Select the Financials tab, and this will provide you with an overview of the phase and service structure that the job is built on. Notice the photography expense that we just entered. If the expense that you wish to create is located as a line item in your Financials tab, this will allow you to automate the expense entry process a little bit. Notice on the far right side of the Financials tab, we have a column called Add. Now these plus icons are going to do different things depending on the type of service that they are lined up against. For example, an internal service like design, the plus icon will allow you to add a task. Whereas an external expense, like printing, as our example, the plus icon will allow you to add an external expense for this item. Select the plus icon, and that also brings us to our multi-line expense entry. However, you'll notice that some of the information is filled in for you already, including the job, the phase, the expense type, quantity, and rate. All we have to do is choose our supplier, enter our description, discounts, tax group, quoted for PO, cost of goods sold account, and submit. That is now our expense created. Those are the two methods of entering expenses, and that does conclude this video. Again, please continue checking out more of our videos for more helpful information on using Function Point.